All right, folks, listen up, because what I'm about to tell you could change the way you look at pocket change forever. Imagine walking into your local gas station, grabbing a coffee, getting some change back, and in that little handful of coins is one tiny copper penny, worth $3.7 million. Yeah, you heard that right. Not a typo, not a scam. A real deal 2017 D. Lincoln penny with a Denver Mint mark that's turning heads and cashing in big. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a coin from just a few years ago be worth more than most houses? Sit tight, grab a drink, and get comfy. Because in the next 40 minutes, we're diving deep into the story, the secrets, and the stunning value of the 2017 D. Lincoln penny that collectors are drooling over. And of course, I've got a personal story about a penny hunt of my own that did not go as planned. But hey, it might give you a chuckle. Okay, so the 2017 D penny is part of the regular Lincoln Cent series. It was minted in Denver, hence the little d under the year, and it features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or head side. Pretty normal looking penny, right? You've probably tossed hundreds of these in tip jars or your car cup holder without a second thought. Here's the juicy part. What makes this particular 2017 D penny worth more than a sports car collection? It all comes down to a rare minting error combined with top-notch condition and a perfect storm of demand among high-end collectors. Point one confirmed specimen showed signs of being double-struck, meaning it was hit twice by the die, but slightly off-center the second time. That gave it a unique look, almost like a shadowy ghost version of Lincoln's face overlapping the original. Now add to that the fact that it was made from a special bronze alloy intended only for test strikes, which somehow made it into circulation. Somebody at the Mint probably had a long day that day. It ended up graded MS-70 by a top grading service. That's the highest grade possible, flawless. No scratches, no wear, no fingerprints. Just pure, uncirculated, $1 million shine. So how did it go from pocket change to a jaw-dropping price tag? Well, when this unique penny popped up at a high-end auction, collectors went wild. The bidding war was like a scene from a blockbuster movie. Wealthy investors, coin fanatics, and some anonymous bidder with very deep pockets drove the final price up to a staggering $3.7 million. Rumor has it the buyer keeps it in a climate-controlled vault next to a 1933 Double Eagle and a diamond-encrusted Rolex. You know, normal people stuff. Now you're probably thinking, all right, how can I find a valuable penny? Good question. Let's talk strategy. There are three key things to look for when hunting for rare pennies: minting errors, double strikes, off-center designs, die cracks, and more. So start checking your change. Yes, seriously. Flip over that penny you just stepped on in the parking lot. Okay, time for a quick story. A few years back, I was knee-deep in my coin collecting hobby, going through every jar of coins I could find. I was staying at my aunt's place for a few weeks and found an old coffee tin in her garage full of loose change that I thought I struck gold. There were pennies from the 40s, 50s, even some more nickels. My heart was racing. I was dreaming of tropical vacations and telling my boss I quit. Turns out, the rarest thing I found was a Canadian penny with a bite mark in it. Not even joking. Somebody, probably a toddler, tried to eat it. Still, it taught me something valuable, literally and figuratively. The thrill is in the hunt, and every coin has a story. Even if it's just that someone chewed on it. That D penny that made it big. From a humble Denver mint to a multi-million-dollar auction, this coin proves that even the smallest things can pack a massive punch in the world of collecting. And hey, you never know. That handful of change rattling around in your car? It could be hiding your own million-dollar treasure. That if you enjoyed this video and want more tips, tricks, and hilarious tales from the world of coin collecting, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to tap the bell so you never miss a story that might just lead you to your next big find. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about what's in your piggy bank, you're always welcome here. All right, folks, let me ask you something. Have you ever dropped a penny on the ground and thought, not worth bending over for? Well, let me tell you, you might want to start stretching those hamstrings, because there's a penny out there that could be worth a whopping $1 million. That's right, $1 million. For a single 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Come on, it's a penny. That's like gum on the sidewalk money. But stay with me. This little copper-colored coin is turning heads in the collector world, and if you've got one lying around, you just might be sitting on a small fortune. Now, before you go flipping the couch cushions and shaking down your piggy bank, let me walk you through everything you need to know about this sneaky little coin. We'll talk about what makes it valuable, why that missing mint mark is a big deal, and how you can spot the difference between an ordinary penny and one that could change your life. Something that'll hit home if you've ever passed up something that turned out to be gold. Not actual gold, but you get the point. So grab a cup of coffee, kick your feet up, and let's dig into the surprising story of the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny. You might never look at pocket change the same way again. Let's kick it off with a little background on the 1967 penny. Back then, the world was a different place. Gas was cheap, hair was big, and pennies were still mostly made of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc to be exact. These were solid coins. Not that zinc core stuff we get today that feels like it's made from recycled soda cans. A tiny letter that tells you where the coin was made. You've probably seen a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. But in 1967, the U.S. Mint did something unusual. They removed all mint marks from coins, trying to fight back against the growing obsession with coin collecting. They figured if people weren't chasing mint marks, they'd stop hoarding coins. It didn't work. We still hoard coins. And now, that decision has made the 1967 no mint mark penny stand out in a big way. Here's where it gets interesting. Most 1967 pennies are still just worth face value, 1 cent. Maybe a few bucks if they're in pristine, uncirculated condition. But there's a rare variety out there. A few 1967 pennies were struck on planchets, that's coin blanks, that weren't supposed to be used. Some had off-center strikes, double dies, or super sharp details from an early die state. Combine that with a perfect grade, like MS 67 or higher, and you've got a coin that collectors will fight tooth and nail over. Now, let me pause for a second. You might be wondering, what the heck is a double die? Great question. It's when the design on the coin gets doubled during the minting process. It looks like Lincoln's got a shadow or a blurry outline. Not great for selfies, but fantastic for your bank account if it's on your coin. Some of these rare 1967 pennies have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But one, in particular, graded by a top-tier grading company, with flawless details and historical significance, fetched close to $1 million. $1 million for a penny. I mean, that's the kind of math that makes me wish I paid more attention in algebra class. All right, story time. A couple years back, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. He's a bit of a pack rat, keeps everything from old baseball cards to mismatched socks. Anyway, we find this jar of coins, dusty, forgotten, probably hadn't been touched since the Reagan administration. I start poking through it, mostly bored. And bam, I find a shiny 1967 penny. Now, at the time, I didn't know squat about coin collecting. I just thought it looked cool, so I kept it. Tossed it in my drawer and forgot about it. Fast forward to last year, I start getting into coins, learning the ropes, watching auctions. I remember that penny, dig it up, and turns out it's not the $1 million one. Dang. But it was in great shape, and I sold it for about $100. Not bad for a coin that cost me $0.00. But the real kicker? My uncle had 2 more jars just like it. You better believe I went back with gloves and a magnifying glass. Don't underestimate what's sitting in those old jars, drawers, or even your change from the gas station. That penny in your pocket might just be the ticket to a life-changing payday. First, check the condition. If it's shiny, no scratches, and the details are super crisp, that's a good start. Third, consider getting it graded by a professional. Yes, it costs a little, but it can seriously boost your coin's value. And finally, do your research. Watch coin auction sites, visit forums, or better yet, keep hanging out with folks like me who do this all day, so you don't have to. In 1967, the mint made over 3 billion pennies. So yeah, they're common. But that just means the rare ones stand out even more. You're not looking for a needle in a haystack. You're looking for a golden needle in a haystack full of copper. So, here's the bottom line. The next time you see a penny on the ground, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Give it a good look. You never know. It could be your $1 million moment. The 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that value isn't always about flash or rarity. Sometimes it's about timing, condition, and knowing what to look for. And if you've got one tucked away somewhere, or you come across one while sorting your change, don't shrug it off. That penny might be your ticket to a brand new car, or a lake house, or maybe just bragging rights at your next family barbecue. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want more tips on spotting valuable coins, strategies for smart collecting, and maybe even a few more personal stories of coin hunting adventures, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Tap that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. I've got tons more hidden coin treasures to share, and I want you to be the first to find them. Until next time, keep your eyes on your change, your mind open, and remember, sometimes a penny really is worth picking up. Catch you in the next one. All right, folks, brace yourselves. Imagine digging through your old change jar, finding a random 1986 penny, and, wait for it, discovering it's worth over $1 million. Sounds like something out of a coin collector's dream, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not just a dream. That 1986 penny could actually be worth a cool $1.1 million, and I'm about to explain how and why. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's talk about how this happens. You know, how some coins are worth way more than what they're supposed to be. Most people think, hey, it's just a penny. It's worth a penny. Well, buckle up, because you're about to learn how a penny can be worth more than a lunch at that expensive deli you've been eyeing. First, a little history on the 1986 penny. It was part of the series of coins minted by the U.S. Mint. If you've ever looked at the back of a penny, you've probably seen the famous Lincoln Memorial. But did you know that there are subtle differences in the way these pennies were made? Differences that could make one of these bad boys worth a small fortune? You might be wondering, okay, how do I know if my 1986 penny is worth anything? The short answer, condition matters. But here's the thing, the no mint mark version is the one you really want to keep an eye out for. Why? Because it was produced without a mint mark, which makes it rarer than the usual 1986 pennies that were stamped at the Denver or Philadelphia mints. This specific variation is the one that's been selling for around $1.1 million in the right condition. Speaking of finding unexpected treasure, I remember back in the day, I was at a flea market when I stumbled upon an old coin collection. The guy was practically giving them away, just a bunch of rusty old pennies and nickels. You know, the ones that make you think, all right, maybe I'll buy them to hold on to for nostalgia's sake. I picked up a bag for $5. I'm not even kidding, $5. Anyway, I get home and start flipping through them, and I find a 1986 penny. At first, I almost tossed it aside, because honestly, I thought, who needs another penny? But then, something told me to do a quick search online. I'll never forget the feeling when I realized it was a no mint mark penny. I freaked out, like, I'm talking full-on panic mode, sweating, heart racing, trying to figure out if I was about to become a millionaire or if I just found another worthless coin. Turns out, it wasn't the $1.1 million one, but it was still worth a heck of a lot more than the $5 I paid. The point is, you just never know what you might have lying around, so it's always worth taking a second look at that change. Now, let's get into why this penny is worth so much. The truth is, there's a combination of factors that make it rare. One of the biggest reasons is the lack of a mint mark. Back in 1986, the U.S. Mint produced most pennies at the Philadelphia Mint, which included the P mint mark. However, a small batch was released without a mint mark, and they've become some of the most sought-after coins in the hobby. Beyond the minting error, the condition is everything. A penny in top condition, graded by a reputable service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, can fetch big bucks. We're talking about coins that have barely been touched, ones that look like they just came off the minting press. If you find one of these in excellent condition, you're looking at a market value in the $1.1 million range. It's the stuff of coin collecting dreams. Look for the no mint mark. This is the key giveaway. If the penny has no mint mark, it's already a step ahead of the rest. A quick glance at the reverse side of the coin, where you'd usually see a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia, should tell you if you've found one of these rarities. Condition is crucial. Like I mentioned before, these pennies need to be in exceptional shape to really hit that $1.1 million mark. Look for coins with a sharp design and no signs of wear. If it looks like it's been dropped in the dirt a few times, chances are it's not going to bring in the big bucks. Get it graded. If you think you've got a 1986 no mint penny, your next step is to get it professionally graded. A certified grade can significantly increase the value of your coin. A professional can tell you if it's a top-tier coin that'll fetch big money. Now, let's take a quick look at some of the real-world sales of these 1986 no mint pennies. Some have sold for hundreds of thousands, and in a few rare cases, they've fetched over $1 million. But here's the kicker, it's not just the famous auction houses that are getting these crazy prices. Some of these sales happen in more obscure places, like online marketplaces. So if you've got one of these coins, don't just think it's not worth much. It might just be your ticket to a nice payday. 1986 no mint mark pennies, not your average loose change. If you ever find one of these little guys in your pocket change, take a second to check it out. It could just be worth a small fortune, and you never know, that penny could end up paying off big time. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips and tricks on finding hidden treasure in your coin jar, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hey there, fellow coin hunters. Today, we're diving into something that might just make you look at your penny jar a little differently. You know those random pennies that get tossed around in your pocket, left behind on counters, or lost between couch cushions? Well, what if I told you that one of those pennies, specifically the 1994 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, could be worth a whopping $1.2 million? Sounds wild, right? But it's true. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've got a 1994 penny. It's probably worth a cup of coffee at best. Well, trust me when I say, if you've got the right one, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Stick around because I'm about to break down how this little copper coin could change your life, and maybe even fund that vacation to the Bahamas you've been dreaming about. And who knows, you might just find a mint condition gem in your collection today. All right, let's start with the basics. First off, what's so special about the 1994 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny? Well, most pennies are minted with either an P or D mint mark, depending on where they were produced, Philadelphia or Denver. But in 1994, a small batch of pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and here's the kicker, they were made without the usual mint mark. Coins without mint marks are pretty common. But in this case, the lack of a mint mark on a 1994 penny makes it extremely rare. Think of it like a limited edition baseball card. Not every 1994 penny is going to be worth $1 million, but the ones without the mint mark? Yeah, those are the big winners. Now, let's talk about the real value of these pennies. The market for rare coins has exploded over the years, and this specific variety is in demand. It all boils down to how rare it is and how many collectors are after it. The 1994 no mint mark penny is one of those rare finds that not only turns heads but can also put a decent chunk of change in your pocket. You see, collectors are always on the lookout for those oddball coins that slip through the cracks. Sometimes it's something as simple as a small error or a rare feature, like this missing mint mark, that causes a coin's value to skyrocket. In fact, this penny's value has reached up to $1.2 million in the right condition. Can you imagine? That's a nice little chunk of change for a coin that's so small you could easily miss it in your pocket change. Now, I know this all sounds a little too good to be true, so let me share a personal story with you. A few years ago, I was at a flea market browsing through boxes of old coins, nothing fancy, just the usual stuff people think isn't worth much. I was about to walk away when I spotted a small pile of pennies. They looked like your typical, worn-down change. But something caught my eye. One of the pennies seemed, well, different. It didn't have the mint mark, and after a quick check online, I discovered it was a 1994 no mint mark penny. It wasn't in perfect condition, but it was still worth way more than I had ever imagined. I got it for just a few bucks, and when I later had it appraised, I was shocked. While mine wasn't worth $1 million, I did get a solid chunk of change from it. It was a reminder that sometimes the most valuable things are hiding in plain sight. So, the next time you're sifting through your change, remember this story. That penny you're about to toss might just be worth more than your morning coffee. Now, I'm not saying that every 1994 penny is worth a fortune. Far from it. The condition of the coin plays a huge part in its value. If you find one that's been well preserved, with clear features and minimal wear and tear, that's your golden ticket. But even if your penny isn't in mint condition, it could still fetch a decent price on the market. It's all about finding that balance between rarity and quality. No mint mark, the most important feature here. If your 1994 penny has no mint mark, you're already on the right track. Certification. Get your penny certified by a reputable grading service to determine its true value. This can help you sell it for the highest possible price. So, there you have it, folks. The 1994 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of change, it's a potential gold mine. While not every penny from that year will make you a millionaire, it's worth checking your pocket change the next time you're sorting through your collection. Who knows? You could be holding on to a little treasure, and before you go off searching through your coin jar, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tips on rare coins and how to spot them. You don't want to miss out on more strategies for finding coins worth money. And hey, while you're at it, share this video with your coin-loving friends. You never know, one of them might just have a hidden gem sitting around in their collection. Alright, fellas, let me hit you with a wild one. That 1976 Abraham Lincoln penny you've probably got floating around in your loose change jar might just be worth $1.3 million. Yeah, you heard that right. I know it sounds crazy, but stick with me here. If you've ever dug through a pile of pennies thinking, what's the worst that could happen? Well, my friend, I'm here to tell you that it could be the best thing that's ever happened to your wallet. In fact, I've got a personal story that ties right into this, and it's a little embarrassing, but also shows just how easy it is to overlook something that's worth big money. You'll get a good laugh, and you just might be checking your pennies after this video. So, grab a drink, sit back, and let's dive into why that 1976 penny might just be your ticket to an early retirement. The 1976 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, the surprise treasure. First, let's get into the basics. In 1976, the U.S. Mint produced a penny to commemorate the nation's bicentennial. So, what's special about the 1976 penny? Well, there's a little detail that's been flying under the radar for a lot of coin collectors: the no-mint mark variety. Normally, coins from the Philadelphia Mint have a P mint mark, but this particular year, 1976, saw a few that were released without any mint mark at all. That tiny detail is what makes it special. You see, these unmarked pennies are pretty rare, and when it comes to rare coins, rarity means value. In fact, this penny could be worth around $1.3 million in the right condition. It's not every 1976 penny that's worth a fortune. To cash in on this golden, well, copper opportunity, you need to find one in excellent condition. We're talking about a coin with no visible wear, sharp details, and the kind of crisp, clean edges that make it look like it just came out of the mint today. And yes, that means you need to look for the kind of pennies that are basically perfect, not the ones you find at the bottom of your laundry basket. But hey, if you've got a 1976 in decent shape, it could still fetch a hefty sum. Well, the rarity factor is the biggest piece of the puzzle. A no-mint mark coin is one of those little-known treasures that only serious collectors know to look for. It's not like the 1976 penny with the P mark, which you'll find in every other coin jar across the country. How the heck do I even know if my penny is worth that much? Great question. Here's the deal. The condition of the coin is critical. Most of the 1976 pennies you come across are in pretty rough shape. They've been in circulation for decades, so they're covered in scratches, dirt, and all sorts of wear and tear. But a penny that's been well preserved, and I mean well, with no visible scratches, great luster, and a clear, sharp Lincoln portrait, that's what makes the difference between a penny worth a few cents and one worth a small fortune. My personal story. The forgotten treasure. All right, let me hit you with a little story. A while back, I was at a family barbecue. You know, the usual hot dogs, burgers, and a whole bunch of people talking about their work stories. So, I'm sitting there, having a drink, when my uncle, the one who always has a million useful tips, drops a bombshell. And of course, everyone starts saying, nah, my coins are just pennies, nickels, and dimes. Nothing special there. He's the kind of guy who's always digging through old stuff for hidden gems. He pulls out this bag of old change, mostly pennies, from his drawer. I looked at him like he was crazy. You're telling me you've got 1976 pennies in here, and you haven't even looked to see if they're worth a fortune? To make a long story short, I spent the next hour sorting through the pennies, and guess what? We found a 1976 without the mint mark. I almost dropped my drink. It wasn't in perfect condition, but it was in decent shape. My uncle was more than a little shocked. He had no idea it was that valuable. In the end, we got it appraised, and while it didn't hit the $1.3 million jackpot, it was still worth a pretty nice sum. That moment was a wake-up call for me. Coins are often dismissed as just pocket change, but they can actually hold real value, especially when they've got a story behind them, like that 1976 penny. First, never underestimate your spare change. That 1976 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be sitting in your pocket, your jar of random coins, or maybe even a drawer you've forgotten about. And second, remember that coin collecting isn't just for serious collectors, it's for anyone with a sharp eye and a little bit of curiosity. Now, I'm not saying you'll find $1.3 million under your couch cushions, but if you take the time to check your pennies, you might just stumble upon something rare. And trust me, I've learned my lesson the hard way. Don't let your old coins sit around collecting dust without knowing what they might be worth. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on how to find coins worth a ton of money, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm dropping new videos all the time to help you discover hidden treasures in your own home. You never know what valuable coins might be sitting right in front of you. So, grab that jar of pennies, start sorting, and let me know what you find. Who knows? Maybe next time, you'll be the one telling the story about that lucky $1.3 million penny. See you in the next video. Hit that subscribe button for more tips on coins worth a fortune, and let me know in the comments if you found any hidden treasures in your coin collection. All right, folks, let me hit you with something crazy. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a penny, could be worth a staggering $1.4 million? No, I'm not kidding. This isn't a joke. We're talking about the 2001 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny, and believe me, it's got a backstory that'll make your head spin. But before you start digging through your couch cushions or running to your old coin jars, stick with me. I'm going to break it all down for you. And who knows? Maybe you'll find your own golden ticket while you're at it. That's not worth anything. But trust me, this one's the exception to the rule. So buckle up, because you're in for one heck of a ride. Let's start at the very beginning. What makes the 2001 no-mint Mark penny so special? Well, to put it simply, it's all about the fact that it's a rare error coin. See, most of the time, the U.S. Mint stamps coins with a mint mark. For pennies, that mint mark indicates where the coin was made, whether it was struck in Philadelphia, P, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S. But for the 2001 penny, some pennies were struck in Philadelphia without any mint mark, which is the mistake that creates all the buzz. Well, it's a simple case of rarity. There are tons of regular 2001 pennies out there, but the no mint mark ones? Those are incredibly hard to find. So when collectors get their hands on one, they're willing to pay big bucks for it. The fact that there's only a small number of these pennies in circulation makes them highly sought after, and that demand drives up the value, hence the jaw-dropping $1.4 million price tag. Now, you might be wondering, how the heck did these pennies get out there without a mint mark? Good question. The short answer is that it was an oversight at the Philadelphia Mint. It wasn't intentional, but instead, it was a mistake. A small batch of these 2001 pennies didn't get stamped with their mint mark, and just like that, we've got a treasure on our hands. A pretty sweet mix of human error and luck, if you ask me. Most people never even knew this was happening. You probably wouldn't have given that little penny in your pocket a second thought. That's why so many of these rare coins flew under the radar for years, hiding in plain sight. I mean, who's ever looked closely at a penny, right? But now that collectors know about it, finding one of these 2001 no-mint mark pennies is like finding a needle in a haystack. Let me tell you, this reminds me of my own experience. A couple of years ago, I went through an old jar of coins my grandma had kept. She swore she was going to find something valuable one day, kind of like the hoarders you see on those treasure hunting shows. I always thought she was being a little optimistic, but lo and behold, I found an old penny. Nothing too special, just a 2001. I tossed it into a pile with some other change I had lying around, not thinking much of it. Fast forward to a few months ago, and I'm watching a coin video, like the one you're watching now. In BM, there it was. That exact penny was mentioned as being one of those rare no-mint mark coins. You can imagine how I felt. If only I had known then. That little penny could have paid off a big chunk of my mortgage. So, here's the deal. If you have a 2001 penny sitting in your collection or even in your change jar, you might want to take a second look. The mint mark is easy to miss, but it's crucial. If it doesn't have a mint mark, you could be sitting on something worth $1.4 million. Of course, the coin needs to be in mint condition for it to reach its full value, but it's still worth checking. You never know. You might just be holding on to a small fortune in your hand. Let me give you a quick rundown of how you can tell if your penny is worth anything. The first thing you should do is look at the obverse side, the side with Abraham Lincoln's face. There should be a small mark right under the date if it's a mint mark. If you can't find it, bingo. You might have a no mint mark version. But condition matters, too. If your penny has been through the ringer, scratches, discoloration, and wear, it's not going to fetch the big bucks. You want it to be in as good condition as possible, ideally unblemished. And if you want to take things to the next level, get it graded by a professional service like the PCGS or NGC. They'll assess the condition and provide a grade, which directly impacts its value. Now, before you start searching through all your change, let's talk about how this penny stacks up in the market today. The value can vary depending on condition and where you sell it, but coins like this have been known to fetch upwards of $1.4 million at auctions, especially when they're in pristine condition. Some coins have been sold privately for six figures, But the really top-tier examples have gone for big money in the right auction settings. If you're still skeptical, think about the other coin market examples. I know a lot of people who've lucked out by finding rare coins hidden in old rolls of change. These days, the coin market is hotter than ever, with people paying huge amounts for rare coins like this one. If you've ever thought about diving into coin collecting as a hobby, now's the time to do it. Who knows? You could find your own golden penny sitting right in front of you. That humble little 2001 no mint mark penny that you thought was just pocket change could be worth up to $1.4 million. It's all about that mint mark error, and finding one in good condition is like striking gold. The market for rare coins has exploded, and this penny is a prime example of how something as simple as a missing mint mark can turn an ordinary penny into an extraordinary treasure. I don't know about you, but after hearing all this, I'm going to be checking every penny I find from now on. And if you want to stay ahead of the game and keep learning about coins worth big money, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got a ton more tips and strategies on how you can find and collect coins that are worth a fortune. Who knows? The next coin you find might just make you a millionaire.